John Miller woke up covered in sweat again. The dreams were getting stronger. He sat up in his small apartment and rubbed his eyes. The clock showed 3:17 a.m. Outside his window, the purple lights of the Selnar patrol ships moved slowly across the night sky. The dream had been the same as before, old knowledge flowing through his mind. His hands glowing with blue energy. And power, so much power. John got up and splashed cold water on his face. For 30 years, humans had lived under Selnar rule. He had been just a child when they came. The aliens had appeared with their massive ships and strange technology. Humanity fought but lost quickly. Now humans worked for the Selnar, following their rules, living in their shadow. He dressed in his gray work uniform and left early. The streets were almost empty. A few workers walked quietly, heads down. No one talked much these days. John reached the research building where he fixed machines for the Selnar. "You're early, Miller," said the guard. John nodded and went inside. He liked being early. It meant fewer aliens to deal with. In another part of the building, Lisa Gomes stared at her screen. The energy readings didn't make sense. She had been studying Selnar power systems for years, but these patterns were new. They showed spikes of unknown energy coming from humans. Lisa looked around nervously. Her research was approved, but not this side project. If Commander Vexler found out, she would be in trouble. The tall, gray-skinned Selnar overseer was known for his harsh punishments. She saved the data to her private device and cleared the screen just as the lab door opened. "Working hard, Dr. Gomes." Commander Vexler's voice was smooth but cold. "Yes, Commander. Just finishing yesterday's analysis." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Good. The Supreme Council expects results." After he left, Lisa breathed again. She needed to find the source of those energy patterns. Later that day, John was fixing a broken cooling unit. As he touched the wires, something strange happened. The unit powered on without him connecting anything. He pulled his hands back in shock. "That's impossible," he whispered. He looked around. No one had seen. He touched the unit again, focusing. The lights flickered. He felt a warm tingle in his fingertips. The machine responded to his thoughts, powering up and down when he wanted it to. John stepped back, his heart racing. This was not normal. This was what he had dreamed about. That evening, someone knocked on John's door. He opened it cautiously. A woman with dark hair and serious eyes stood there. "John Miller. I'm Lisa Gomes. We need to talk." He let her in, confused. "Do I know you?" "No, but I know about you." She took out a device and showed him a screen full of energy patterns. "This was recorded this morning, in your section of the building." John said nothing. "You can do something, can't you? Something with the machines." Lisa's voice was quiet but excited. "You can affect them without touching them." "I don't know what you're talking about." Lisa leaned forward. "It's okay. You're not the only one. There are others showing similar patterns. Something is happening to certain humans. Something the Selnar don't know about yet." John thought about his dreams, about what had happened today. "What do you want from me?" "I want to understand it. And I think we need to find others like you before the Selnar do." Lisa looked out the window at the alien patrol ships. 30 years ago, they conquered us easily. But what if we could fight back now? John felt a chill. That's dangerous talk. More dangerous than living like this forever. Lisa asked. John looked at his hands. They looked normal, but he had felt the power in them today. The same power from his dreams. "There are people who want to meet you," Lisa said. "People who believe humanity once had abilities that were lost. Abilities that might be returning." John thought about his simple life as a repair worker. It wasn't much, but it was safe. What Lisa suggested meant risk, danger. But it also meant hope. "When do we leave?" he asked. Lisa drove John through dark streets in an old car that barely made noise. They passed 3 Selnar checkpoints, showing their work permits each time. The aliens waved them through without much interest. "Where are we going?" John asked. "Somewhere safe," Lisa said. "Under old Chicago." They parked in an abandoned garage and walked to a rusty door that looked like nothing special. Lisa knocked 5 times. The door opened to reveal a tall man with hard eyes. "This him?" the man asked. Lisa nodded. "John, this is Sam Morin. He leads our group." Sam looked John up and down. "So you can talk to machines." "I don't know what I can do," John admitted. "It only happened once." Sam grunted and led them inside, down a long hallway, and into an elevator that took them deep underground. When the doors opened, John gasped. The underground base was bigger than he expected. At least 50 people worked at different stations. Some had computers, others cleaned weapons, some studied maps on the walls. "Welcome to the Resistance," Sam said. A woman with kind eyes approached them. "I'm Amy Chen. I'm a doctor. I'd like to run some tests, if that's okay." John nodded, still taking everything in. Later, John sat in a small room with Sam, Lisa, and Amy. An old man with white hair joined them. "This is Frank Howard," Sam explained. "He's been studying the old stories for years." Frank smiled at John. "So you're an awakened. I've waited my whole life to meet one." "I don't understand any of this," John said. Sam leaned forward. "Let me tell you our history. Not the version that Selner taught us. The truth." He paused. "Humans once had great powers. We could move things with our minds, control energy, even heal with a touch. We were feared across the stars." "That's impossible," John said. "Is it?" Frank asked. "You moved electricity with your mind today." Lisa showed her data on a screen. "These energy patterns match old records from before the Selnar came." "What happened to these powers?" John asked. "They faded," Frank said, "over many generations. By the time that Selnar found us, only stories remained. They attacked when we were at our weakest." Amy spoke up. "But now, something's changing. I found 23 people showing early signs of awakening. Most don't know what's happening to them." "Why now?" John asked. Lisa pulled up new images on her screen. "The Selnar have been drilling into Earth's core for years. They say they're mining resources, but I think they're tapping into the planet's energy field. I believe this energy is what once powered human abilities. And by taking it, they're somehow triggering our powers to return." John asked. "Exactly," Lisa said. "They're accidentally undoing whatever made us lose our abilities." Sam stood up. "John, we need your help. If more people are awakening, we need to find them before the Selnar do." Frank put a hand on John's shoulder. "I can help you control your abilities. Make them stronger." "I've only done it once," John said. "What if it was just luck?" Frank smiled. "Let's find out." He led John to a table with a small device on it. "Try to turn it on." Without touching it, John stared at the device, feeling foolish. Nothing happened. "Close your eyes," Frank said. "Remember how it felt this morning. The energy in your hands." John closed his eyes and fought back. The warm tingle, the connection to the machine. He opened his eyes and reached out his hand. The device flickered to life. Everyone in the room gasped. "That's just the beginning," Frank said. "With practice, you'll do much more." Sam looked at the others. "We need to move quickly. If John can awaken, others will too. The Selnar will notice soon." As if on cue, an alarm sounded. A young man ran into the room. "Selnar patrols just raided Lisa's apartment. They know something's up." Sam turned to John. "Your training begins now. We don't have much time." John looked at his hands, still feeling the power flowing through them. Everything was changing, and there was no going back. 2 weeks passed quickly. John trained with Frank every day, learning to control his abilities. At first, he could only turn small devices on and off. By the end of the first week, he could make them move. Now, he could shut down complex systems with just a thought. "You're learning faster than I expected," Frank said, watching John disable a Selnar security panel they had stolen. John wiped sweat from his forehead. Using his powers still tired him out. Is this how strong humans used to be? Frank shook his head. The old stories say some could lift buildings or read minds. You're just beginning. Sam entered the training room with a serious look. Time for talking is over. We have a mission. In the main room, Lisa stood next to a man John hadn't met before. "This is Eric Sullivan," Sam said, "former fighter pilot before the Selnar grounded all our aircraft." Eric nodded at John. "Heard you can do some special tricks with machines. That's why we're going to hit the regional command center," Sam said, pointing to a map on the wall. The building had once been part of Denver. "That's suicide," Amy said from across the room. "The place is crawling with Selnar guards." Sam smiled. "Not with John's help. The Selnar don't know about him yet. We can get into their systems, download their classified files, and get out before they know what happened." "What are we looking for?" John asked. Lisa stepped forward. "Information about us. About human abilities. The Selnar must know something about our history. They keep too many secrets." The plan was simple but dangerous. Eric would fly them in a modified truck that could fool Selnar sensors. John would use his powers to get them past security. Lisa would download the files they needed. 3 days later, they approached the command center at night. The massive building glowed with purple lights. Selnar guards patrolled the perimeter. "Remember," Eric said as he parked the truck in a blind spot, "we have 20 minutes before the sensor loop resets." John focused on the security cameras as they approached the fence. He felt the now familiar tingle in his fingers as he reached out with his mind. The cameras turned away. "It's working," Lisa whispered. They reached a side door with an electronic lock. John placed his hand near it and closed his eyes. The lock clicked open. Inside, they moved quietly through dark hallways. Twice they had to hide from Selnar patrols. Each time, John made the lights flicker in another area, drawing the guards away. Finally, they'd reached the central data room. Lisa plugged her device into the Selnar computer, while John kept the alarms inactive. "Hurry," Eric urged, watching the time. "I'm in," Lisa said. "Downloading now." John felt his strength draining. Holding back all the security systems at once was harder than anything he'd done in training. "Got it," Lisa said finally. "Let's go." They were halfway to the exit when an alarm blared. John had missed something. "Run," Eric shouted. They sprinted through the hallways as red lights flashed. John tried to disable the alarms, but he was too tired. At the exit, they faced 2 Selnar guards. Eric tackled one while John focused the last of his energy on the second guard's weapon. It sparked and died in the alien's hand. They made it to the truck just as more guards poured out of the building. Eric drove fast, crashing through a barrier. Laser fire hit the truck but didn't stop them. Miles away, they finally slowed down. John was exhausted but smiling. "Did we get what we needed?" he asked. Lisa was already looking at the files on her device. Her face went pale. "What is it?" Sam asked. "It's worse than we thought," Lisa said. "That Selnar have known about us all along. They call us the Shapers. They feared us for centuries." "Why?" John asked. Lisa looked up. "Because once, long ago, humans nearly destroyed their homeworld with these powers." "There's something else," she added. "The Supreme Council has dispatched someone called Cathera to Earth." "Who's Cathera?" Eric asked. "A hunter," Lisa said, "specifically designed to track and kill awakened humans." The resistance base buzzed with activity. Sam gave orders to pack up and move. The raid on the Selnar command center had put them all in danger. "We split into 3 groups," Sam said. "Harder to track that way." John, Lisa, and Eric would go west. Sam and Amy would head north with half the team. The rest would go south. A young woman with short brown hair approached them. "I'm coming with your group," she said. "I'm Kelly Martinez. I work with computers." Sam nodded. "Kelly is the best at breaking Selnar codes. She'll help Lisa with the files we stole." They left that night in 3 old trucks. John looked back at the base that had been his home for the past 2 weeks. He wondered if he would ever see it again. For days, they drove through empty lands, avoiding main roads and Selnar patrols. They slept in abandoned buildings and ate cold food. Kelly worked on the stolen files whenever they stopped. One morning, she woke everyone up with excitement in her eyes. "I found something," she said, showing them her computer. "The Selnar put devices in our atmosphere 30 years ago. The devices send out signals that stop human abilities from working. Like a radio jammer." Eric asked. "Exactly," Kelly said. "But something's happening to these devices. They're breaking down." Lisa looked at the data. "It's the energy harvesting. The Selnar are digging so deep into Earth's core that they're damaging their own jammers." John sat quietly, thinking. He had been having strange dreams again. But these were different. He saw other people like him, trying to use powers they didn't understand. "There are more awakened out there," he said. "I can feel them." Lisa looked at him with wide eyes. "You can sense them." John nodded. "In my dreams, it's like we're connected somehow." Before they could discuss this more, they heard the sound of Selnar ships. Eric looked outside. "We need to move. Now." They grabbed what they could and ran into the woods as ships flew overhead. John could sense the Selnar technology searching for them. "It's Kythera," he said, somehow knowing. They ran for hours, moving deeper into the forest. Night fell, and they found a small cave to hide in. "How did they find us?" Eric asked. John closed his eyes. "Kythera can track the energy we give off. The same energy I use to control machines." Kelly worked on her computer by the light of a small fire. "I think I know why the inhibitor devices are failing. The Earth's core energy that the Selnar are harvesting is the same energy that powers human abilities." "Can we use this information?" Eric asked. "Maybe," Lisa said. "If we could find one of these inhibitor devices and study it." A message came through on their emergency radio. It was Sam's voice, but he sounded hurt. "Kythera found us. Amy. Amy is gone. Taken. They're using her as bait." John felt cold. "We have to help them." "It's a trap," Eric warned. "I know," John said, "but I might be able to do something new." During their escape, John had discovered something. When he touched Eric's shoulder to warn him about a patrol, Eric had briefly sensed the Selnar technology too. Somehow, John had shared his power. "I think I can give others my abilities. For a short time." Kelly looked up from her computer. "That changes everything. If more people could shut down Selnar tech, we could fight back." Eric finished. Lisa put a hand on John's arm. "But first, we need to find a safe place. Somewhere we can learn more about these inhibitor devices and how to destroy them." "I know where to go," Kelly said. "There's an old research site mentioned in these files, hidden under what used to be Yellowstone Park." "What's there?" John asked. Kelly looked at him. "According to these files, it's where humans first learned to control their powers, and maybe where they decided to give them up." It took them 5 days to reach Yellowstone. They avoided roads and towns, moving through forests and empty lands. Twice they had to hide from Selnar patrols. Each time, John sensed the aliens before they appeared. On the 6th day, they met an old man waiting for them at the edge of what used to be Yellowstone Park. He had a white beard and kind eyes. "Professor Alan Wright," he said, introducing himself. "Sam told me you were coming." "You know Sam?" Eric asked, suspicious. "I've worked with the Resistance for years," Professor Wright said. "I study the old places, the ones from before the Selnar came." He led them through overgrown paths that tourists had once walked. The park was empty now. The Selnar had closed it long ago. saying it was dangerous. "The Xelnar avoid this place," Professor Wright explained. "They claim it's because of unsafe ground, but I think they sense something here they don't like." After hours of walking, they reached a small lake. The water was clear blue, steam rising from its surface. "The entrance is under the water," Professor Wright said. "An old facility built by humans hundreds of years ago." John looked at the lake. "How do we get in?" The professor smiled. "That's where you come in, John. The door responds to people with the gift." John stepped to the edge of the lake. He felt something pulling at him, like the machines did when he used his powers. He reached out his hand over the water and focused. The lake began to bubble. Then the water parted, revealing stone steps going down. "Amazing," Lisa whispered. They walked down the steps as the water held back on both sides. At the bottom was a metal door with strange markings. John placed his hand on the door. Blue light spread from his fingers across the markings. The door slid open. Inside was a large room filled with old machines. Lights came on as they entered. The door closed behind them, and the sound of rushing water told them the lake had returned to normal. "What is this place?" Kelly asked, looking at the strange technology. "A research center," Professor Wright said, "built by our ancestors to study human abilities." John walked to the center of the room where a round platform stood. As he stepped onto it, the whole room lit up. Images appeared in the air around them. The images showed humans using powers like John's, but much stronger. They'd moved buildings with their minds. They created fire with their hands. They flew through the air. "We were like gods," Eric said in awe. More images appeared. Wars. Destruction. Entire cities turned to dust. "With great power came great danger," Professor Wright said sadly. "Our ancestors nearly destroyed themselves." The final images showed a group of humans building devices, the same inhibitor devices that Xelnar now used. They did it to themselves, Lisa realized. Humans created the inhibitors to limit their own power, to save themselves from their own destruction. Professor Wright nodded. But they left this place as a key, a way to restore the power if it was ever needed. John felt the platform humming beneath his feet. Energy flowed into him, stronger than anything he had felt before. Kelly examined one of the machines. This technology could amplify the awakened abilities and maybe broadcast them to others. "A way to fight back against the Xelnar," Eric said. Before they could discuss further, an alarm sounded. Red lights flashed. "Something's coming," John said, feeling danger approach. The main door exploded inward. Through the smoke stepped a tall figure, human-like, but different. Pale skin, eyes that glowed purple like Xelnar technology. "Cthera," John whispered. Behind Cthera came Xelnar soldiers dragging someone. It was Amy, alive but injured. "The hunter has found its prey," Cthera said in a voice that was almost human. John stepped forward, power glowing in his hands. "Let her go." Cthera smiled. "Show me what you can do, Shaper." Sam appeared behind the Xelnar, his gun raised. "Get down." Chaos erupted. Shots fired. Energy blasts from Xelnar weapons. John reached out with his mind, disabling the alien's technology. In the confusion, Sam rushed to Amy. But Cthera was faster. The hunter grabbed Sam. "Go," Sam shouted to the others. "Use what you found here. I'll hold them off." The last thing John saw as Professor Wright pulled him toward a back exit was Sam fighting Cthera, buying them time to escape with the ancient knowledge. John, Lisa, Eric, Kelly, and Professor Wright escaped through underground tunnels. They carried small pieces of the ancient technology they had grabbed before running. Amy had been rescued in the chaos, but Sam was gone. "We need to rest," Professor Wright said when they reached an old cabin hidden in the woods. Amy sat quietly, still weak from her time with Xelnar. "Sam knew the risks," she said. "He would want us to keep going." For 3 days, they stayed in the cabin. Kelly and Lisa worked to understand the technology they had taken. John practiced his abilities, growing stronger each day. On the fourth day, they received a message on their emergency radio. A woman's voice came through. "This is Maria Peterson calling any resistance groups. I was a senator before the invasion. We're gathering forces in the east. Please respond if you can hear this." Professor Wright responded, using code words to make sure it wasn't a trap. Soon, they were talking to Maria directly. "The Selnar are acting strange," Maria told them. "They're pulling back from smaller cities. Something has them scared." "It's us," John said. "They know about the Awakened." They told Maria about the ancient facility and what they had learned. She listened carefully. "You need to come to our base," she said finally. "Bring whatever technology you have." We found more people showing signs of abilities. 2 weeks later, they arrived at an underground base in what used to be Boston. Hundreds of resistance fighters lived there. Maria Peterson met them at the entrance. She was tall with gray hair and a strong face. "Welcome," she said. "We've been waiting for you." Inside, they met more people like John. A young man named Ben Harris could make small objects move without touching them. An older woman could sense emotions. Others had just begun to discover their abilities. "The inhibitors are failing faster than we thought," Lisa explained to Maria after examining their data. "That Selnar energy harvesting has damaged their own systems." Kelly had been working on the ancient technology they took from Yellowstone. "I think I can build a device that will speed up the process, something that will completely shut down the inhibitors." "An awakening device," Lisa called it. While the scientists worked, John helped train the other Awakened. He discovered that his ability to share power made him valuable. When he touched Ben Harris, the young man's power grew much stronger. "It's like you unlock something in us," Ben said after moving a car with his mind while John touched his shoulder. John had also discovered he could connect with other Awakened through his thoughts. A kind of mental network was forming between them. "We need to use this connection," Maria said when John explained it to her. "We can coordinate between resistance groups across the world." Reports came in from everywhere. More humans were showing signs of powers. The Selnar were retreating from minor outposts, gathering in their main bases. "They're preparing for something," Eric warned during a planning meeting. A technician burst into the room. "We're picking up Selnar communications. Their ships are leaving Earth orbit." "They're running away?" Ben asked hopefully. Maria shook her head. "No, the non-essential Selnar are evacuating. The warriors are staying." "Why would they do that?" Amy asked. Lisa looked grim. "There's only one reason. They're planning to attack from orbit, destroy major human populations from space." "Can we stop them?" Maria asked. John thought about the growing network of awakened minds he could feel. "Maybe, if we work together." That night, a Selnar commander named Vexler secretly contacted them. His face appeared on their communication screen. "I know what the Supreme Council plans," he said. "They want to sterilize Earth, rather than risk humans regaining their full powers." "Why are you telling us this?" Maria asked suspiciously. "Because some of us remember the true history," Vexler said. "Before the fear, humans and Selnar were allies once. I don't want to see your species destroyed." "What can we do?" John asked. "Act quickly," Vexler replied. "The attack begins in 3 days." With only 3 days until the Selnar attack, everyone worked without rest. Kelly and Lisa finished building the awakening device. It looked simple. A metal box with a crystal from the Yellowstone facility at its center. "Will it work?" Maria asked. "In theory," Lisa said. "It should send a pulse that disrupts all inhibitor signals, but we can only use it once, and the range is limited." "How limited?" John asked. "A few miles at most," Kelly admitted. "To affect the whole planet, we would need to place similar devices at key points around the world." A woman in a military uniform joined their meeting. She had short gray hair and a stern face. Colonel Diana Foster, Maria introduced her. She led human forces during the First War with the Selnar. Colonel Foster pointed to a map. We need to hit these major command centers simultaneously. If we can disable their defenses at the same moment we activate the awakening device, we might have a chance. How do we get teams to all these locations in 3 days? Eric asked. John closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind to the network of awakened. We already have people near most of these places. I can feel them. Maria looked surprised. You can communicate with them. Not with words, John explained, but with images, feelings. I can show them what to do. For the next day, John sat quietly, making connections with awakened across the world. He showed them images of Selnar command centers. He sent feelings of when to attack. He shared knowledge of how to use their growing powers. Meanwhile, Colonel Foster prepared their own strike team for the main Selnar control station that housed the central inhibitor system. I'll lead this mission, she said. John needs to stay here to coordinate and activate the device. I'm going, John insisted. My powers will be needed to get past their defenses. After much debate, they agreed. John would go with Colonel Foster's team. Lysa would stay to activate the awakening device at the right moment. On the morning of the 3rd day, they moved into position. 20 resistance fighters, led by Colonel Foster and John, approached the massive Selnar control station. It rose like a dark tower over what had once been Washington, D.C. Remember, Colonel Foster told her team, we need to hold the control room for 5 minutes while Lysa activates the device. John reached out with his mind, disabling the perimeter alarms. They entered through a service tunnel, moving quietly. Halfway to the control room, they were discovered. Selnar guards fired energy weapons at them. John blocked the blasts with his power, creating a shield of energy. Keep moving, Colonel Foster ordered. Fighting broke out across the facility. Resistance fighters fired their weapons. John used his abilities to shut down Selnar technology whenever he could. At the same moment, attacks began worldwide. In London, Paris, Beijing, and dozens of other cities, small groups of humans with awakening powers struck at Selnar facilities. John's team finally reached the control room. Colonel Foster set explosives on the door. The blast echoed through the building. Inside, Selnar technicians tried to call for help. John disabled their communications with a wave of his hand. Set the charges, Colonel Foster ordered. We have 3 minutes. As her team placed explosives on the main inhibitor controls, John felt a familiar presence. He turned just as Cthera entered the room. You have caused much trouble, Shaper, the hunter said. Cthera moved with incredible speed, knocking aside resistance fighters. Colonel Foster fired her weapon, but Cthera dodged easily. John faced the hunter, power glowing in his hands. This ends now. They clashed in the center of the room, energy against energy. John had grown stronger, but Cthera was designed to fight awakened humans. Now, Lysa, John shouted into his radio as he fought. Back at the base, Lysa activated the device. A wave of energy pulsed outward. John felt it wash over him. His power suddenly expanded, growing 10 times stronger. Around the world, all awakened humans felt the same surge. The change was visible in Cthera too. The hunter stumbled, suddenly confused. What have you done? Cthera asked. John reached out, not with violence but with his mind, touching Cthera's thoughts. In that moment, he saw the truth. You're one of us, John said in shock. You're part human. Cthera fell to his knees, confused by the sudden change in his body. The hunter had always known he was different from other Selnar, but not why. They created me from human and Selnar DNA, Cthera said slowly, to hunt my own kind. John offered his hand. You don't have to be what they made you to be. Before Cthera could respond, the building shook. Through the large windows, they could see Selnar ships in the sky, beginning their attack. We're too late, Colonel Foster said. John looked at the others. No, we can still stop them. He closed his eyes, reaching out with his mind. The network of awakened humans was stronger now, clearer. Millions of people around the world suddenly felt power flowing through them, as the inhibitors failed completely. "I can feel them all," John said. "Not just the ones who were already awakened. Everyone is connecting." Through this vast network, John could see what was happening around the world. Ordinary people looking up at the sky in wonder as they felt strange new powers awakening within them. Children making toys float with their minds. Adults discovering they could sense the thoughts of others. "The Selnar ships are targeting major cities," Colonel Foster warned, looking at the control room screens. John turned to Cthera. "Help us. You know their ships, their weaknesses." Cthera stood, making his choice. "The ships can be stopped if enough energy is directed at their main engines." John sent this knowledge across the network. Around the world, newly awakened humans looked up at the attacking ships. They reached out with their minds, with their new powers. In Boston, Lisa watched in amazement as blue energy rose from thousands of people, shooting into the sky toward the Selnar ships. John felt his awareness expanding beyond Earth, into space. He could sense the Selnar fleet, their confusion as their weapons failed to fire. "It's working," he said to the others. "But we need more." John, Cthera, and the strongest of the awakened combined their powers, creating a shield around the planet. The remaining Selnar weapons bounced off this shield, harmless. On the Selnar command ship, Commander Vexlar watched in awe. "It's happening again," he told the Supreme Council. "The Shapers have returned." The Supreme Leader refused to accept defeat. "Destroy them all." Vexlar looked at the other Selnar commanders. "For centuries, we've lived in fear of humans. We invaded them because we were afraid. But look at what they're doing now. They're defending, not attacking." One by one, the Selnar commanders turned away from the Supreme Leader. Vexlar took control of the fleet. "Humans," he broadcast to Earth, "we request a truce." John received the message through his expanded awareness. He could sense Vexlar's sincerity. The collective consciousness of awakened humanity considered the request. "We accept," John sent back. "But you must leave Earth forever." 3 days later, John, Lisa, and the others watched as the last Selnar ships left Earth's orbit. Maria and Colonel Foster began organizing the new human government. "What happens now?" Lisa asked John as they stood on a hillside, watching the sunset. "We learn," John said. "We have great power again, but we need to use it wisely this time." The memory of the ancient facility's images was fresh in his mind, the destruction humans had once caused with these same powers. "We won't make the same mistakes," Lisa said, sensing his thoughts. John smiled. Across the world, he could feel humans learning, growing, connecting with each other in new ways. The mental network was becoming something beautiful. In the distance, cities were being rebuilt, not with machines, but with the power of human minds working together. Debris floated away as buildings were restored. "They feared us because they knew what we could become," John said. "Not conquerors, but creators." Cthera joined them on the hillside. The former hunter had chosen to stay on Earth, to learn about his human side. "The Selnar Council has been reformed," Cthera told them. "Vexlar sends a message. They wish to meet with humans again, when we're ready. As equals this time." John looked up at the stars. For the first time in 30 years, they weren't a reminder of defeat and alien rule. They were a promise of what was to come. "We'll be ready," he said. "Humanity has returned to the stars."